Okay. And then shall I start, Ian? Okay. So welcome to this ad hoc meeting of the Eugene Sustainability Commission. Thanks to all the commissioners for being flexible and allowing us to fit this in so we could take care of this one brief business item before it's too late. We have a brief agenda just to mainly talk about tabling at the South Eugene Neighbors Picnic and a few other items. And then I think we're going to start with reviewing and approving the agenda. Does anybody have any changes to the agenda? All good? Okay. And Ian, will you read the...
Yeah, so we're ready for the script?
Yep, I think we are. Hi, Danielle.
Great, I think we sorted our IT. So good evening, everybody. And just a quick housekeeping note before we're going to begin this evening's meeting. So for members of the public who are joining the meeting via computer, device, or phone, please be advised that your microphone, webcam, and phone are automatically muted when you enter the meeting as an attendee. The commissioners, as panelists, you're able to mute and unmute your video and mic at your discretion, although we ask you to please mute yourself when you're not speaking to avoid any feedback or background noise. If you wish to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting and haven't already done so, please raise your virtual hand now to join the speakers queue in one of two ways. For those viewing the meeting on a computer, laptop, or other device, click once on the blue hand icon. For those listening to the meeting on the phone, press *9. We will lower hands as speakers are called upon. When the public comment begins, we will announce your name and unmute your microphone. You will then have 2 minutes to speak, after which your microphone will again be muted. Regarding the chat and QA functionality of Zoom, please note that for attendees, you're not able to use these features. For commissioners, we ask that you do not utilize the chat because attendees will not have access to those conversations. Lastly, in accordance with the passage of HB 4212, this meeting will be recorded and recordings will be posted to the Sustainability Commission websites. And as always, please feel free to contact the Sustainability Commission if there is testimony or comment you were not able to provide and wish to get to the Commission in a different format. And with that, I turn the meeting over to Chairwoman. Okay, sorry, hang on. I just noticed I probably needed to turn on a light there. I was sort of sitting in the dark. Sorry about that. First thing we want to do is welcome our new member, Alexi Miller. This is his first meeting, and we're very happy to have him join the commission. We do have another new member who's not able to join us tonight. So we will meet and spend a little more time introducing all of ourselves and getting to know everybody a little bit better at our meeting in September. But for now, Alexi, is there anything you wanted to say?
No, thank you for the welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot to everybody for making time in their schedules on this end of summer time to get this item on. We have an invitation. Oh, I guess we're going to go to public comment and commissioner response first. Sorry. Do we have any members of the public who have tuned in?
It does not appear we have any public members joining us this evening.
That's not super surprising, given the sort of short notice and narrow focus of the meeting. So let's go ahead then. And our one action item is we have a request from the Southeast Neighbors to do some tabling at their picnic. For those of us who've been on the commission last year, we had an education and outreach committee. We spent a lot of time developing a slideshow and talking about our role as in doing outreach in the community, and wanting to get out to neighborhood associations in particular and other community groups. And this seemed like a nice opportunity to do that. The picnic is September, fill me in again, Devin, I don't have that in front of me.
9th.
From I think was 1 to 4, 1 to 5.
1 to 5.
And a number of other community organizations will be there tabling. At least one City of Eugene organization, Parks and Open Space, will also be there. And although, you know, we spent the most time working on the slideshow, and we obviously can't really do a slideshow out in the park during the day. We think we can gather up a little bit of information from that and just have a presence at the picnic. That would be a good way to get us started, and perhaps maybe help us clarify what some other things we want to do and materials we want to prepare and that sort of thing, if we were to do that. Devin, you want to add anything? Alexi Devin is the current chair of the Southeast Neighbors, so she has some information on that.
It's a great event. We had a really good turnout last year. I think some of you guys have heard this maybe before, but I'll just go over it super quick. There's going to be I think there's 3 different food carts. So last year we had 1 food cart and there was maybe 200 to 300 people that filtered through. There was a lot of people. And this year there's more food carts. There's a dessert food cart. There's a marimba band. There's a certain group of dancers. Can't remember which they were. I'm not on the picnic committee this year, thank goodness. But yeah, I mean, it's at Tugman Park. If you didn't know, it's just a lot of fun and a really good group of people. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about it? Okay.
So this commission's bylaws and operating agreements state that we need as a commission to approve someone to represent us officially at a public meeting or a public event. And so that's why we needed to have this meeting in order to, hello, Chris, nice to see your face. Have this meeting to authorize that. And then of course, we also will need we think that maybe, anywhere from 2 to 4 volunteers would be great. I will be happy to do it. And hopefully we can gather a few other people to help with that day. So does anyone have any questions, concerns, comments about the whole idea and whether we want to authorize some volunteers to represent us at the picnic? Karen.
I'm trying to wrap my head around what that looks like, because we don't have any tabling materials, we don't have anything to give away, and we don't really have any games, and I'm just not sure what that would look like and what the interaction would be. I have to look at my calendar, but I would possibly be willing to do it for part of the time. But I mean, I've done a lot of tabling, for master recyclers and stuff. They have games, they have information. I'm not sure. And I appreciate you inviting us, Devin, because I think that that's really great. But when we came up with this slideshow, we really didn't come up with this concept of tabling. And I just think that if we're going to table, that we need to have a kit or some information or some form of engagement. So I'm kind of stuck with that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Mitra.
Did we ever record someone presenting the slideshow?
We haven't yet. No, we haven't. We actually probably have a few adjustments and edits to make to the slideshow since things have changed a bit since we drafted that.
So one suggestion that I would make is maybe we have a table with people that are, versed in the slideshow that could just talk to people about it. And then maybe we have a QR code where they could be access the slideshow or at least our Sustainability Commission website or something like that. And then is there a call to action we have or anything like that that we can, I don't know. Yeah, it seems like we should kind of talk about a little bit what we want to come out of this. What's our goal for tabling?
All right. Yeah. Karen, I got you. Let me just interject here for a sec. We recognized, Devin and I, when this came up and we talked to Ian and Danielle about it, that we are pushing our timeline a little bit because we haven't produced a whole kit for, that we might like to have. And so, but we thought it was a worthwhile opportunity to at least discuss if we can pull off something. And we talked with Danielle and Ian about the possibility of, were there 1 or 2 slides from the slideshow that would be particularly just interesting that we could, print 2 sides on a thing, or have a little half sheet that would just have the Sustainability Commission sort of purpose and contact information, so that, we'd just have a little something that we could hand to people and just start the conversations. And like you say, I think you're right, it would be good to review the material in the slideshow, because that's our best summary at this point of some of the things. Do we have a call to action? I think at this point, it's mainly just to let people know we're here and what we're here for, and that they can contact us and just start to do some basic education. And I think we'll maybe develop as we go along a more refined, a call to action sort of thing, is my way of thinking about it. Karen.
Okay, I have a lot of concerns about this. We've had a lot of meetings over the last while where, Ian very specifically has told us, maybe I heard this wrong, but that, basically we really can't represent anything unless we have pre-approval as to what it is that we're saying and the information that we're giving out. So I feel a little bit ill at ease at the concept of standing there at a table. That being said, I only see one thing that is a possibility, is that we're still trying to recruit commissioners. And that's maybe, a pamphlet that I would say would have to come out of Ian and Danielle, because we don't have time to go through a proposal situation and editing and stuff like this. And ultimately, basically you have to tell us what we're okay to say and represent, and some information on how to apply for the commission and what the commission is about, how many meetings there are, and what it is that we do. I mean, that's all that I think that would be valid, unless you, Ian and Danielle, give us stuff and say, here's information for tabling, this is what you can talk about, and whatever. And then the other point that I have to make is that I've been in a lot of these neighborhood group things, and I've never ever seen commission or a committee represented at any of these, the planning commission or there's a million of them. So I just see these nonprofit organizations. So anyway, that's my comment. I'm just kind of fuzzy about it.
All right, I've got Danielle and then Devin, then Mitra. Danielle, go ahead.
So a couple things to answer Karen's question. We are, like, our program, the sustainability program, is also does not quite have a tabling kit ready to go. So we do not necessarily have like flyers to, that could just go out there. We are working on that, but we're still a few months out. The presentation, I'm working on getting that. I think I'm just going to email it to you guys right now, so you can look at it. We could there's potentially information that could be pulled out of that, but that is a chunk of work. That's a body of work that needs to be done to sort of take the information that's in the slide and turn it into content that could be put into a handout or like some type of leave behind. So that's a consideration. One thing that that Devin, Jan, and I and Ian had come up with is there's potentially something around the green fund that's ready to go. It's that, Alexi, that's a pot of money that the Sustainability Commission has and is able to give out to community groups who apply for it. It's very small. It's like chunks of, $1,000 or something that the Sustainability Commission can vote to approve to give out as grants. So that's one thing that might be ready to go. Other content that might be ready to go is like anything on the Sustainability Commission website. So, if people want to peruse that, in terms of like what the charge of the commission is. But again, there's not necessarily a clear call to action there yet, or at this point. So are there any other questions?
I think that's good for now.
Okay.
Devin was up next and then Mitra.
I just wanted to respond one thing to Karen about the lack of precedent about a commissioner or committee being there. I think that that's 100% true. I mean, I don't think that it is 100% true just about, but the idea is that to change that, and this is an opportunity to just kind of get out there, and even if at the very minimum we're just telling people that we exist, I think that's really important in itself, because my experience has been that people don't know that we exist. Especially on like my board, nobody knew what it was until I was on it. For example, I know I say that kind of frequently, but I think that there's some value here. And then to Danielle's point about the Green Fund, you know, that's a great place for outreach, because we're going to be surrounded by nonprofits that might be interested, or even individuals like that would like to apply for something like that, or even committees on the SEN board that are going to be representing there. So just as a starting point, to try to make this kind of education outreach happen, even if it's not the most perfect version, I kind of feel like it's worthwhile to just see what we can do. And we don't have to sit there and pontificate about everything environmental. I mean, we can just stick to some very simple messages. At least that's, I think we can.
Okay, Mitra.
I really like the idea of talking about the Green Fund and recruiting commissioners, because that has been challenging and we do need that. I think we have a pretty tight script that we all approved of that goes along with the slideshow. And so I would think that if volunteers wanted to review the script, that create like bullet points, talking points based on that, I feel like that's something that we've already had approval to say. And then having a QR code, I think having a handout kind of defies the point of a, paper handout that someone would take. I mean, I think if we want to take names or have a QR code where people could go to our website and learn more about us, we could say you're invited to sit in on or voice your feelings at our commission meetings. And then the Green Fund, I do think those are good points. And I do think we need to start letting people know we exist, that there is a liaison or an access point that they can, we're here to be a intermediary to gather information from the public and consider it and represent that on our commission. So I do see a point in that. And I do think if we just kept it simple and just like stuck to what we've already approved based on that slideshow, we don't really need a lot of, maybe printing up the slideshow and having it at the table so that people have some reference, and then a QR code where they can go look at it. Not the handouts though. I mean, I don't think people at picnics really, they'll take them and then they'll probably just throw them away or recycle them. But I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. So I'm wondering if Hannah or Chris or Alexi have any thoughts on this, and we haven't heard from you yet. Chris.
I mean, my hunch is the reason why this came up is because a couple of you saw that there would be a value to being there, that the individuals that would be the most likely to attend there because you've probably been there previously, and the people that are going to be there and their concerns and topics. And to me, it seems like a positive thing for us to have a presence, because you have an intuition that there would be conversations. And if there were only a couple of conversations, that would be a couple of more than have been had in the last couple of years, probably in that type of a situation. And that seems to me as a positive. It may not be able to be quantitative about what did we exactly accomplish, but it's a foot forward. And it sounds like we have people that are already excited and willing to be there and be a part of it. So, the cost of it, if you will, is people that want to be there and be able to mingle and to talk to individuals that may have questions. And then it helps us to maybe get more of a grassroots feeling in the community for what we do. I don't see how there's a negative to that. So.
Lexi.
It seems pretty reasonable to me. I hear Karen's concern voiced earlier about, if you say something that is not pre-approved in a public setting, or that it runs counter to the intent of the group, that's either unproductive or worse. Sure. I also see the positive to it, especially if we're trying to recruit more people to be out there talking about what the Sustainability Commission is and does. So I think having some content about what is this thing, what's the time commitment, when does it go, talking about things like, well, what was the last work plan? What did we get done? We have fiscal year 23 work plan on the website. That's an easy thing. You don't want to print out reams of paper, but you could print that one up and say, here's the kind of stuff we do. Here's what we were talking about last year. I don't know all the results of that, but presumably the others on the call do. So seems pretty reasonable, as long as we're careful about not overstepping in terms of public outreach.
Okay. Hannah, great.
Yeah, I had the same questions and concerns as Karen, but I think just from our discussion, I think I have a better understanding of the purpose now. And I do think that in terms of trying to get more commissioners and outreach in that sense, I think that's always good. My question, I guess, would be, could this be something that like the sustainability team, like Ian and Danielle or others would also be participating in, or would that just be a commissioner, not responsibility, but like, would we have other people from employees from the city of Eugene with us? Could they be doing that? Yeah, I guess I've, to Karen's point, I've also personally never seen any commissioner like tables at any of these events. Maybe there are, I just haven't seen them, but I do think, yeah, like Alexi was saying, I don't think that there's really any negatives here, but I just want to make sure that, not that it would be a waste of time, but that we have clear like results that we want to be seeing, I guess. And yeah, but I think in terms of outreach, I think it's good. And that the community will get a better sense of what the commissioners are doing and sustainability in Eugene as a whole, especially like the climate action plan and projects that are going on. So, yeah.
Thank you. Mitra?
I think I definitely hear your concern, and that came up as well, just in general, with respect to having an education and outreach presentation, because if people ask questions, then we have to go off script and answer questions. And I think the way that we discuss dealing with that is to say, my experience based on this, or not speaking as commissioner, like you have to like verbally distinguish that you're posing your own opinion based on your personal experience versus an official, like I think the messaging that was approved is the script and the material in the slideshow. And so that should be reviewed by volunteers, and that should be very clear. And then if questions get posed that venture into material or things that haven't been approved, I think it should be a very clear line understood by the volunteers, where you have to say this is, not speaking as a commissioner, but as someone, blah, 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 having a way of distinguishing that. And that did come up, in the presentation question anyway. So I'm actually kind of curious how it goes, and whether it's really hard to manage, or whether, I'm very curious about the response. I think it'd be fun to kind of beta test this. So that's also something we could get out of it, but
So I want to point out that we are actually at 5:30 already, which is we were thinking we were going to get to wrap up. So I don't, is everybody okay continuing for another 5-10 minutes? Okay. And
I think
Danielle?
we might need to, what if we just, I mean, maybe take 1 or 2 last comments, but then maybe just put it to a vote. And maybe like, if any, maybe only 1 or 2 comments if someone has something new to bring to surface. It seems like people, I'm getting the sense people might be ready to just take a vote,
That's a good,
but I don't want to push that. Not.
hang on. Okay, Ian, just a second. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Ian. Go on. I'm sorry.
So just quickly to follow up on, I think what both Mitra and Karen had said. Karen, I think specifically to your questions, what was going on in the spring that's not the same now was that given the ordinance being under petition and an election measure, there were a lot of limitations on what staff and commissioners could talk about. With the repeal of that, that has changed a little bit. But I think to Mitra's point, I do think that leaning into the content that we created last spring does provide a pretty good guideline for thinking about kind of what to talk about when you're wearing a commissioner hat, and thinking about how to communicate this.
So could Danielle or Ian, could you answer the question about whether or not in this case or in other cases like this, the staff would be involved?
I can answer that. Yeah, for this event, no. Staff does not feel prepared to do a tabling event, nor do we have capacity right now. But the long-term speaking, this is in line with our goals to have more of a presence in the public events with the sustainability team. So in the future, potentially, but not for this event.
Okay. And then, Karen, go ahead.
I understand that you want to take a vote and we're kind of trying to move forward with this, but my sense of this is that we're not prepared, and that my gut level on this also is that I think that it would be really appropriate if the sustainability department had their tabling plan together, and perhaps we could participate with that, because as Danielle said that they weren't prepared and ready to come and participate in this kind of event, I still haven't heard any real plan of what would happen. We would show up there and then what? We talked about a lot of different ideas. Who would prepare that stuff? What would it actually be? It still feels kind of fuzzy. So though I think that there's a willingness here to participate in this, and that the core level idea is really good. It doesn't feel well defined to me. It doesn't seem defined to me. And especially if you're telling me that the sustainability department, which I imagine we could be getting questions about that, about what's going on in the city of Eugene with sustainability, and I'm not prepared to address those things as well. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. There you have my comment.
So I guess I would want to go back to Danielle and Ian. So Danielle, about the material. So what I heard from you was you seem to think we could come up with a couple of brief things that we might be able to pull from the website and the slideshow that we could have as resources at the table. Is that correct? Obviously, we will need your help with that. So
I think I would need someone on this commission to volunteer to do that, to take what's on the website or whatever it is and provide me with the content. And I'd be happy to, format it into something that might be a little bit prettier than just bullet points on a Word doc. But I think that is a chunk of work that I'm not going to have capacity to do, is to take content from the website or whatever it is and turn it in, digest that content a little more.
okay, all right. So yeah, so I mean, I could do a little bit of something of that. I don't know if we have another person who is interested in helping with that. Also, I'm wondering if we have actual volunteers for being there. So I'm willing to do it, but I'm not going to be the only person there all day by myself. I guess there's a question there too, Devin, about how much, if we had, say, 2 people for 2 hours, is that enough? Or is it required to be there all the time, or?
I think you can run it how you want. I mean, with who you have. I think 2 people is plenty. I think 2 hours is plenty for 2 people. You know, it's not that you have to, there's no requirement in this kind of event that you are there for the entire event either. I mean, I'm not saying that wouldn't be a goal. I'm just saying you can come and set up your table and, you know, stay for a couple hours and leave if no one else, you know, there's not a requirement to necessarily be there for 4 hours without moving or something like that. I think it's a neighborhood association event, and it's fairly fluid in that regard. It's not like a, you know, you're in a hotel in a convention center or something, you know, it's a neighborhood picnic.
I just wanted to make sure that would be appropriate, because I think that might be
Yeah.
the scale we're talking about here. So are there other folks who are interested and willing to volunteer that day?
Just a comment, I'm going to be there, but in another capacity, so I won't be able to field the table. So but I will be there, but just with a different name tag.
Okay. The only other person, I'm sorry that Dennis isn't here tonight. He's been enthusiastic about this sort of thing in the past and has said he was willing to participate when we do go out to talk to people, but he's not here now, so I don't know. I think if we don't have any other volunteers, then I'm not going to do it by myself. I don't think that's worth it. So that might be where we are.
I would help you for a couple hours, but again, I'm just going back to what I just said, which is that I'm really unclear on what it is we would be saying and representing, and I'm concerned that, you know, we'll get questions about what's going on with the sustainability in Eugene, and I don't feel comfortable representing that as well. And since we're not looking, I was looking for the hook of us being able to be recruiting members, so we had something that we were asking the community for. I mean, giving people a handout that says where the to look at our website. I mean, that's all I would generally feel comfortable with. And then again, who is going to take care of organizing some kind of, how is that process going to go? Because
how is the process going to go?
creating a handout or a
Well,
link or something.
what I just heard Danielle say was if somebody, and I could certainly be part of that somebody, would go to the website and pick out a few short things or whatever that we either want a copy of to show people when we're at the table, or might want to, you know, produce in some sort of way. She could help get those things formatted if needed and or printed. And so I think we'd have that. And I think we've heard that people would be interested in talking about recruiting commissioners and talking about the Green Fund, and talking about what we've been working on the last couple of years. And I think if we get other questions beyond that, we mostly would say, we're not really prepared to talk about all those things today. We're here just to kind of get in touch with people, let people know the commission's here, that we're working on these kinds of things, that you can contact us, you can come to meetings. We're, you know, we want to be out doing more robust outreach in the future. No, we're not representing what the staff efforts, what all the community-wide efforts, we're just not ready to, we're not in a position to speak to those things. And I think that it's okay to say that. You know, there are things going on, there are places on the website that you can go to learn more about this, but that's not what we're here about today. So I personally would be comfortable in that limited kind of a role. If you're not, that's okay too. Mitra.
I mean, I would volunteer, but I'm expecting a grandchild any time. So I'm like, that's a weekend day. And
Yeah.
so I'm worried about being the only other person volunteering and then not being able to come, because that's like first priority for me. So I don't know how it feels for another person. And that seems to be the deal breaker for people, like whether it's goes all on one person or not. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, shall we take a vote then?
Yep.
Anybody want to make a motion?
A motion, we vote.
Mitra?
I second the motion that we should vote on this.
Okay, well, we should vote. So does anybody want to make a motion of what we're voting on?
Is that how it works? I'm sorry. Okay, so Chris, you moved to that we vote on whether we table at the South Eugene picnic.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, I missed that. Sorry. Okay.
And I second the motion that we should vote on that. So then we
Okay.
say, I guess, yeah, I don't know.
Did you put your hand up, Devin? Okay. Well, I don't think we have a motion.
No, I think we have a motion that someone needs to ask for the actual vote, and I don't think it's my role to do that. I don't remember.
For the vote, okay, so the vote is, I would like to. Normally, I think we would have a motion say, I move that we have some people to do tabling at South Eugene. At
Okay.
South Neighbor.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
See what I'm saying? So if somebody can make that motion and somebody can second that motion. So Chris, is your motion to approve some people to table at South Eugene Neighbors, or is your motion that we do not approve people to table?
I think it was, the motion was to approve.
Okay, so we do have a motion to approve some people to do some tabling at South Eugene Neighbors, and Mitra, you seconded that. Is that correct?
To approve it,
Yes.
does that mean I have to vote yes on it?
No,
Or you
Okay.
don't, if you,
Okay,
okay. So we have a motion to appoint some people to represent the commission at South Eugene Neighbors. We have a second. All in favor? Devin, Chris, Alex, and Hannah. Okay, we have 4. On those opposed to the motion? No, nobody? So we have no one opposed, those abstaining. Okay, 2 abstaining. All right. So, oh, I didn't vote. I should vote. So say we have 7 people. Well, I'll vote to approve it. So that's 5 in favor, 2 abstaining. So the motion to approve some people to represent us at the South Eugene Neighbors does pass. We do not have a second volunteer as of yet, right? So I think we'll leave it there for tonight. I will contact Dennis tomorrow and see if he's interested and able to assist. And y'all can think about it a little bit more if any of you think that you might be interested and available to help for a couple of hours on that day. And then we'll see where we are. What would be my intention to do it if we have a second volunteer for a couple of us for a couple of hours. If we don't have, I don't think I will do it on my own.
Yeah,
I would help you for a couple hours, but to just stand there, I'm not sure. I'm just feeling really confused about how that would go.
That's fine. That's understandable. Somebody else have their hand up or
I
something?
may be able to join. I'll have to check.
Okay,
Coming member, pretty comfortable saying, well, I don't really know, but I can tell you.
you've got the perfect line.
Pretty
That's
good
right.
excuse for, I don't know.
And if I don't know, I'll just say, you have to talk to Alexi, and then Alexi can say, I don't.
That's right. Yeah, the circle.
All right. All right. Are we okay leaving it at that place?
Are you gonna just get in touch with me, Jan, and let me know?
Karen, I guess what I'm hearing is that you're not comfortable with it, and I don't want you being out there if you're not comfortable with it. I don't think it's going to get a whole lot more refined than what it is. We're going to get we're going to identify a couple of pieces and some bullet points, and I don't think it's going to be more than that. So if that doesn't feel like.
Well, I could, as long as there's something, as long as there's some guidelines about what you want me to be doing, I'd be happy to stand there and join you.
Okay, all right. I
If-
think we,
Rep, I don't think we need to make this a proper motion, but if we can prep a couple of like bullet points, like what are the 3 or 5 key things we're trying to say here?
Right.
Be helpful. You know,
Absolutely.
what
I
is the
think
commission? What do we do? How does one, since it's an appointment thing, it's not, there's no formal application, right? So how does one express interest? What did we do last year? I don't know, is there another 4th or 5th thing? Are those the basics there? Of
Couple of items about the green fund. Yeah, I think that's
course, thank you.
okay.
Here's an example that we have an example of opportunities.
Yeah, Karen, I'll be happy to get back in touch with you, and we'll, in the next few days, we'll figure out what we've got. And so,
Yeah, just whatever I need to say, I just want to be informed. That's all.
of course,
I'd be happy to keep you I'd happy to keep you company for a couple hours there.
great.
And you
So-
can move me in as well. I'll check schedules and all that.
Okay, so we've got Karen and Alexi, and then possibly Dennis. So that's a good group. That's great. All right. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I do realize it's a little bit of squishy, but I want to keep us moving forward. So I think that it's a good step. And I will be in touch with Devin and Ian and Danielle probably tomorrow, and we'll figure out identifying some things that we might want to pull together and go from there. Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? Anybody else? Comments?
I just
Good
want to
luck,
thank
Mitra,
everybody
Grandma.
for coming. Yeah. Oh, and congratulations, Mitra. That's so crazy.
Super.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited. I abstained my vote because I didn't know if I was going to be there, and that confuses me. So sorry. But I'm glad so everything's moving forward. And
Dan?
yeah.
You have something you want to add?
I just wanted to give a quick update. So for people what to expect for the next meeting, we're gonna have our retreat on September 20th, which is the normally scheduled time for our meeting. But you can just expect that meeting to be a little bit longer than normal. We'll be providing dinner, and that's when we'll really be doing the bulk of our work planning and visioning for the next year. So that's about it. I'll send more info via email.
I guess I will also add, it's my intention to try to contact commissioners individually between now and the September 20th meeting. And so I will probably send y'all an email and see if we can set up a time for a phone call or a coffee meeting or something like that, just to kind of get in touch and get your ideas and thoughts on things in an informal way, just to kind of get things rolling. So, Mitra.
Is that training mandatory? That's on, when is
Right.
it?
So
one
thanks for bringing that up. There's a training, I should have mentioned that. There's a training this Friday. It is mandatory, but it's going to be recorded. So you don't have to go this Friday. You can watch it on your own time at a later date. I'll send out the recording.
Great, thank you. Devin, did you have something? No, okay. All right, sorry, Danielle, I skipped over your last update. Thanks for jumping in there. Anything else? All right, everybody, thank you so much. Really much appreciated. Have a nice
Yeah,
evening.
thank you guys. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
taking the time.
See you soon. Bye.